It's Sunday, December 13th. Very disappointing wearing my Sounders jersey. Very disappointing loss last night in the 2020 MLS Cup Championship game. The Seattle Sounders lost to the Columbus Crew 3-0. It was very disappointing. They made some key substitutions, which I recommended at halftime. They put in Brad Smith and what's his name? The Swede. And they actually got things going because they had more chances in the first part of the second half than they had the first in the first half. And they did also some other key substitutions later on, but they just could not get a goal. It just wasn't their night last night. And so let's get started. We'll hear from Brian Smetzer, their coach, to see what happened. Okay, what is the weather forecast going to be? Of course, it's going to rain. Well, Monday, yeah, it's going to rain a little bit. Okay, rain. So let's hear from Brian Smeltzer to see, from his perspective, what happened last night to the Sounders.
Well, just one, well, maybe two. I'll congratulate Caleb and Columbus. That was a very good performance. And then I'll also say that I'm very proud of the season, not the last game of the season, but the season that my squad put together. They worked hard. They fought till the end, but they came up short tonight. But in the long run, in the bigger picture, I think there's certainly a lot of success that follows this franchise, and we hope to continue that.
We're going to go ahead and open up for questions. We're going to start with Matt Pence, followed by Sean. Matt?
Hey, Coach, I was wondering how seriously you had considered mixing up the lineup and kind of what your rationale was for staying with this 11 after the last couple games.
Well, we always assess after each game, Matt, how the team performed, what they did, what we can do better, what worked, all of that. There was some serious deliberation about, certain players, but we decided we could start the game like this and then, take what the game gave us and make changes.
Next question goes to Sean, followed by Nico. Sean?
Coach, yes, you did have a great year. I'm just wondering, the last game may have taken a bit too much out emotionally, physically, and everything, as well as Columbus closing out their stadium at the same time.
Well, maybe the last game was emotional. It was emotional high, and you got to get back up again, but it was a cup final. I almost felt like in that first half, our soccer wasn't great, and it was almost like they were too wound up, too tight. Just couldn't seem to find their rhythm early in the game, and then obviously you go one goal down. Okay, that's okay. But going 2 goals down certainly was a dagger. And that was, something that, you got to give credit to Columbus.
Next question goes to Nico, followed by Matt. Nico?
Thank you. Brian, just wanted to know exactly what did you guys go over at halftime, and how well did you feel like your substitutions worked out on the team, the ones you made at halftime, that is?
It worked out, and the team. Look, the team was going to play better coming out of halftime. There's a lot of times you can make adjustments at halftime, and at 2-0, your opponent usually wants to not play as firm or hard and push and whatever. It's just human nature. The team that's down 2-0 is going to come out with some pride and push and try and get a equalizer, or start even just to get one. But obviously Gustav came on and did a good job, and Brad came on and did a good job. But it was basically just trying to, redo what we were trying to do in the first half, which is play between the 4-4-2, play in between lines. And, I just didn't think our attacking movements are very sharp tonight.
Next question goes to Tom, followed by Jada. Tom?
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. What did you see that the Crew did well in kind of limiting Nico's opportunities to get on the ball? He had a significantly fewer touches tonight than he did in his last 2 games.
Yeah, Nico had a strained calf which prevented him from being his normal self. I think the crew did a good job of, just sitting with their two holding midfielders and, denying some space. I don't think in the first half, I thought JP and Christian were too deep. One of them needed to be there to draw one of their midfielders. So I think it was a combination of just, Columbus doing what they did. Jesse Zardes, I got to give it to him. He puts, a lot of pressure on opponents defensively, and just our inability to play how we wanted to play, I think, is what caused Nico not to have as many touches as he should have.
Next question goes to Jada, followed by Jeremiah. Jada?
Thank you. Excuse me. Yeah, Coach, kind of extending on that as far as you guys not being able to play. I mean, it seemed like you guys were caught a little bit off guard in the opening half, especially with them pressing as much as they did. Did you kind of see that from y'all?
Yeah, I saw it from the game, Jada. It was what we tried to message them before the game, and then again at halftime. We didn't want to always play backwards, play negative. I thought that was, that was not the way to, beat how they were pressing higher up the field. So, again, whether it was a little bit of our team not playing up to the potential, or you're giving Columbus credit, the game just didn't manifest itself the way we wanted.
Next question goes to Jeremiah, followed by Felipe. Jeremiah?
Yeah, Brian, this is obviously your fourth MLS Cup. You haven't scored in 7 of those halves. Is that, how much of a concern is that, and how do you go about solving that kind of problem?
Jeremiah, that you might stump me with that one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we got a really good attacking team. I'll have to, figure out, how important that real statistic is. I mean, we've got 2 wins out of the 4. So, I don't know how to answer that.
So good news. Hopefully Trump will stop his ranting and raving about the election results. Supreme Court denies Texas attempt to overturn the election. The Texas Attorney General, who basically wants to get a pardon from Trump because he's under investigation for all kinds of crap and shit that he did, filed a lawsuit wanting to invalidate Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia's votes because of stupid, the mail-in ballots were legal, which is bullshit because every one of those states has legitimate laws allowing mail-in ballots for the last year or two. He was joined, unfortunately, by about 18 other state attorney generals that want to, ingratiate themselves to Trump, and about 100 Republican Congress people, which is bullshit. But here is a story from PBS NewsHour.
In a closely watched decision, the U.S. Supreme Court tonight has denied an attempt by the state of Texas, supported by a large number of Republicans, to overturn the election results and Joe Biden's victory. Here to help us understand what the justices decided and more are Lisa Desjardins, our Yamiche Alcindor, and our John Yang. So, John, let me start with you. What was the court being asked to do, and tell us what they've ruled?
Texas wanted the court, Judy, to say that the elections in 4 states that Joe Biden turned from Republican to Democrat, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, that the elections in those states were unconstitutional. They wanted them to the court to bar those states from using the results of the elections to determine the electoral votes, and instead order the state legislatures in those states, all, by the way, controlled by Republicans, to determine the electoral votes that those states would cast. But the justices said that essentially that what the election laws in the other states were none of Texas's business, that Texas was not qualified to bring this suit. In the words of the order, Texas has not demonstrated an interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections.
So, John, I was just reading the very short decision. There was only it was only a matter of a couple of paragraphs. But what did we learn in there about the thinking on the part of the 9 justices?
Not a lot, Judy. As you note, it's a very short order. In these sorts of orders, we don't even know the vote breakdown. We do know that in this case, Justices Thomas and Alito, on very technical procedural grounds, said they would have let this lawsuit go forward. They would not have done what Texas wanted them to do, bar the states from using the election results for the electoral votes. And they would not say they would not offer any views about how they would have decided this case after they heard the arguments from Texas and the other states. So not a lot of visibility here on exactly what the thinking was.
Yeah, so many eyes on this and trying to understand every word in this decision. So to Yamiche now, Yamiche, as we know, President Trump signed onto this lawsuit by Texas. So many Republicans joined in. Attorneys general from something like 17 states joined in. 160 some Republican members of the House. How important was this suit to President Trump and his campaign and their attempt to overturn election results?
This case that the Supreme Court just ruled on was incredibly important to President Trump and to the Trump campaign. The president called it the big one. He said that this case possibly was the most important election case in the history of the United States. And tonight, the Supreme Court effectively is ending the president's efforts to try to have the election overturned through the courts. The president had said over and over again throughout the election, even before people voted, that the Supreme Court was his backup plan if he lost. He said he would only be able to lose if there was some sort of election rigging. There is no evidence that any of the things that the president said happened in terms of no mass voter fraud. Courts after court have told the president that he needs to show actual evidence. And tonight, what's really striking about this decision is that the 3 Supreme Court justices who President Trump put on the Supreme Court bench, they are not saying anything here. They're not dissenting with this decision. So this also is in line with other Trump-backed judges not siding with the president when it comes to his efforts to do this. Now, critics of the president say he's essentially trying to use the courts to steal an election here. We should remind people that Joe Biden is at this point leading in the popular vote by some 7 million votes. And it seems very clear tonight that in 40 days, Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. This court here, this court decision makes that even more of a possibility. Another thing I should note, I've been texting with people that are close to the president and White House aides. Right now, we're not hearing anything, but the feeling is very solemn, and they're very angry at the idea that the president is going to have to, even if he doesn't concede, have to leave office.
So it does look like the end of the road for this court case. We do know they're still trying to overturn decisions in state legislatures as recently as today. But I do want to quickly get to Lisa, because Lisa, as John reported, 2/3 of the Republican members of the House had signed on to this case. Tell us about what they were thinking, what the motivation was here, and where they stand on all this.
Some of them argued the substance that John was talking about, that state election officials went too far. But others, Judy, were arguing that they wanted clarity on the election itself. And it does seem, in rejecting this lawsuit, the Supreme Court is offering that kind of clarity. I'm looking for a reaction from those House Republicans. I haven't seen it yet. I have gotten some reaction from other Republicans, one of them telling me, frankly, they're relieved that this is actually, in their view, this is a Republican aide, something that backs up our institutions of governance. As for leaders in the House and Senate, Nancy Pelosi sent out a letter earlier today saying that the lawsuit was an act of flailing GOP desperation. I went back to her office after this happened just in the past few minutes. Her spokesman, Drew Hamill, texted me back, reaction, 2 words, as expected.
And Lisa, just quickly, though, it was the House Republican leadership that was involved in this, correct?
That's correct. That's right. Kevin McCarthy, the top Republican in the House, and Steve Scalise, his deputy, both of them signed on to this lawsuit. It will be interesting to see what they say. McCarthy is not just the House leader, which is a prominent position for the Republicans. He is also a very close confidant and advisor to President Trump himself.
All right, and very important decision by the Supreme Court, one that we have been waiting to see. And thank you all 3 for your reporting on this. Lisa Desjardins, Yamiche Alcindor, John Yang. Thank you.
So pack your bags, Donald Trump. Melania is already packing her bag. She's out of there. She wants to get out of there as soon as possible. So follow the lead of your wife. She's trying to leave you in 6 months anyway. Oh my God. I can't believe Mitch McConnell, what an fucking asshole. He has basically stopped or basically put on hold the COVID relief package. It's all down to the fact that the Republicans want to limit liability. So, for example, you can't sue a place of business or your employer if you caught COVID and they didn't do the right thing. It's bullshit, and it's something that the Democrats won't budge on. So let's see what's happening.
Meanwhile, Lisa, with regard to congressional business, we did report that Congress has voted to fund the government for another week. But does that mean a shutdown is entirely off the table here?
I wish I could say it were. No, Judy. Those who had threatened a shutdown, including Senator Bernie Sanders, said they will do so again next week when this deadline runs out. So we could be talking about this again, Judy.
And meantime, Lisa, we know the thing that so many Americans are waiting to see is whether Congress is going to do anything about COVID relief. What do you see there?
I have to say it's a frustrated and fractured Congress. Now both the House and Senate have left town, even though they know that money for food aid, money for unemployment, those extensions are running out within weeks. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of places where we know that both sides agree. Let's look at where lawmakers agree, first of all. There you can see House and Senate leaders, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all agree on a few things. Unemployment benefit extensions, small business payments, that's the Paycheck Protection Program extension, and money for vaccines, along with many other things. But there are big disagreements that are the problems here. Those are over money for states, which is something that Democrats think there needs to be more of, and then money to protect businesses, thus the liability question that Mitch McConnell himself has really stuck to. And Judy, that liability question is probably the biggest one here. It's an issue of how do you protect businesses versus how do you protect workers who may suffer harm from working on the job. An example of where they've tried to find compromise, maybe they could come up with something like a protection for 2020, a different standard for this year, or a freeze in lawsuits for the first 6 months of next year. They've been trying to figure out a deal and they cannot get there. It is a real problem for overall COVID relief.
A lot of people asking why they cannot compromise after all these months and when the need is so great out there. Lisa Desjardins, John Yang, we thank you both. Appreciate it.
They have to pass something. It's frustrating that they can't help Americans, and it's the damn Republicans and Mitch McConnell. Oh, this is a very sad story. Tony Hsieh, and he was amazing. I mean, I kind of he looks like he was an amazing entrepreneur. He actually was a founder of Zappos. Online shoes, when people were like, how can you buy online shoes and you want to try it out? So he did this great, and he was focused on the customer service and employee satisfaction. And unfortunately, he died in a fire. But there's a lot of questions about he sold Zappos for $1.2 billion in 2009 to Amazon. So he was fucking rich, and he just left the CEO position at Zappos in August. But a lot of his friends says he was on this drinking kind of drug and kind of a weird binge. And you'll see the story here from ABC.
Growing questions about the death of the former Zappos CEO, Tony Hsieh. He passed more than a week after being pulled from a burning Connecticut home. And new images from the scene are adding to the mystery. Eva Pilgrim has the latest. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, George. With every new detail, new questions. And this morning, so many people are asking, what happened to Tony Hsieh?
The mystery deepening. A fire. Former Zappos CEO Tony Hsieh dying from smoke inhalation. This morning, a look at the damage. These pictures from the DailyMail.com showing no damage to the front of the home. And in the back, the storage unit where the first responders found the billionaire entrepreneur trapped. No major damage. The only sign of a fire, darkening on the top corner of one of the doors.
We reported a fire in the building. One person stuck inside.
The fire happened in the early morning hours of November 18th. According to police, Shay was locked inside that storage area at the back of the home when firefighters arrived.
The male is barricaded inside. He's not answering the door. Everyone else is outside the house. They're trying to get him to open up.
You had a report of a person trapped. You make sure our paramedics respond.
Shay was rushed to a hospital with severe injuries before being transferred to a burn center. The medical examiner ruling his death an accident, attributing his death to smoke inhalation. The cause of the fire still under investigation. Shay was known as the most unconventional boss in America.
Hello.
Living in a 240-square-foot trailer in downtown Las Vegas with his pet alpaca Marley, giving a tour to ABC's Rebecca Jarvis, the Zappos headquarters just blocks away. In 2009, the Harvard grad sold the online shoe retailer to Amazon for $1.2 billion, but remained on as CEO until this past August. His longtime friend Amanda Slavin said she saw him 3 weeks ago, just a week before he died.
I would always give him like really silly gifts. Like he loved llamas. So I would give him like llama eraser. Again, there's not a lot of people that just give you permission to be yourself always. And that's just him.
Slavin says Shay was generous and humble with big plans for the future.
Tony has been my mentor, my partner. I might get emotional, but more importantly, my friend for the past 8 years. And he changed my entire life.
And Shay's birthday is coming up in just over a week. His friends tell us they are trying to plan a way to honor and celebrate him on that day. George.
He made a lot of contributions. Okiva, thanks very much. One of the more unusual bosses in the world, Tony Shea, CEO of the online shoe company Zappos, worth nearly $1 billion, but you would never know it based on where he lives, and Rebecca Jarvis shows us.
I love him. Meet the most unconventional boss in America. By some estimates, worth nearly $1 billion. 41-year-old Tony Shea, the CEO of online shoe company Zappos, could live anywhere, but he's choosing to live here.
Hello.
In this 240-square-foot trailer in downtown Las Vegas.
Beds down here. There's a shower, bathroom.
Inviting our cameras in exclusively to show us around.
This converts into a bed, that converts into a bed, and this is your workspace.
Yep.
You're definitely different than your typical billionaire CEO.
I care a lot more about experiences than stuff.
Introducing us to his neighbors.
We could write our own famous story.
Including his pet alpaca, Marley, and 4 chickens.
A bunch of us decided to move in for a week, and then we enjoyed it so much that we decided to stay.
Shea owns the trailer park as part of his $350 million investment to rebuild downtown Las Vegas. The Zappos headquarters just a few blocks away.
Get in there.
Come on, Tony.
Here you'll find a Star Wars-themed conference room, even a wall of musical feet.
I like that one.
What you won't find, managers or any clear sense of hierarchy.
Who's the boss?
We're the boss.
You're the boss.
We're the boss.
We actually are encouraging employees to move around to fill multiple roles if they want, or try out one, and if it doesn't work out, then go try out another one.
It's a strategy that didn't go over well with everyone. 14% of employees left the company when it was first introduced. Scary because nobody knew what was going to happen. But for those who stayed, perks like this. Employees can give each other $50 bonuses for good work. I have about 8 of them that I've earned.
It's such a great environment. You want to be here even on your day off.
And if shoes aren't your thing, don't worry. They're not Tony's either.
So you have 4 pairs of shoes, including
Pretty
slippers.
much, yeah.
For Good Morning America, Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, Las Vegas.
It's very sad and tragic. I just wanted to make sure that you also saw the good side of what happened with Tony when he was such an innovator, unconventional boss. You know, how he spent $350 million to help revitalize downtown Las Vegas. He's a hero there. Las Vegas was very sad about his passing, and they did a lot of tributes to him. And he did like weird things. He went to Park City, Utah in the last 6 months, like after he stepped down as CEO in August. He started buying up property like crazy, and he started, having his friends move there, and he paid his friends to move there. And he did a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs. He was obviously in a spiral that unfortunately ended in his death. So very sad story. I don't know if you guys haven't heard about it. Amazon Sidewalk is actually a quasi internet Wi-Fi. In fact, each of your Echo device, in fact, I have an Echo right here near the front door. It is actually connected to other Echoes. So they want to solve the critical connectivity problems for like small Internet of Things devices, such as tile trackers or internet-enabled pet tracking collars. So in order for these devices to work, they need to be on the internet. So basically, Amazon's solution is to turn on all of their Echo and Echo Dot devices as internet. It's shared internet connectivity using everyone's home internet, but it is very encrypted. Okay, so basically, you don't have to worry about someone's going to hack into your Wi-Fi, but it's kind of cool. So Chef Marcus Samuelsson, he's actually a Swedish guy from Africa, and we want to see how he is celebrating Black cooking.
This is a time where cooking takes center stage. Often overlooked are Black chefs and cuisine. Jeffrey Brown reports for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
Red Rooster in Harlem. A skeleton staff prepares for another day of socially distanced diners and takeout orders. The restaurant, a vibrant homage to Black food, art, and culture, is the creation of Ethiopian-born chef Marcus Samuelsson, who at age 50 has come a very long way.
Jeff, you have to, first, when you have a journey like mine, you have to acknowledge privilege and luck. I was born in a hut that is smaller than 2 restaurant tables in my restaurant. I had tuberculosis, me and my sister. My mother died. But she took us to a Swedish hospital that then a nurse had empathy for us that took us in, that then set us up for adoption.
Samuelsson would grow up in Sweden, train in top European kitchens, work in and then start his own restaurants here in the U.S. He became a citizen in 2004. In an age of celebrity chefs, he's a star, including as host of the PBS series No Passport Required. There he explores American cities not through their most famous restaurants, but in neighborhood places that capture the energy and tastes of immigrant communities.
When I look at this food, I see Brazil, right? This looks like a pierogi, this looks like empanada.
His new book, a mix of history, biography, and 150 recipes, is a celebration of Black cooking and cooks, and the incredible diversity within that community. It's called The Rise.
The Rise for me is really an opportunity to tell and share the story about Black excellence and contribution to the American landscape, to talk about the authorship, create memories, hopefully, that people cook around it, not just African Americans, but all of us, and then also really create an aspirational level so people want to go into our industry.
Why is the larger history and the variety, why is that so little known?
Well, I think, first of all, America's history at large is written very much from a European lens, right? The more we learn about who contributed, the more respect and understanding we will have with one another. We can all agree that this is the year to have a conversation about race, class, and identity. And when we talk about those things in terms of political or in religious context, it always gets to a hostile environment. Food is actually a way for us to go into the holiday season, cook from a book, talk about us as Americans, as a wider Americans, and enjoy each other.
One emphasis here, the powerful role of women, like Leah Chase, the famed Creole chef whose New Orleans restaurant, Dookie Chase, served since the 1940s as what Samuelsson calls a safe Black haven for its community. Chase died last year at age 96. These days, Samuelsson sees a new explosion of talent.
You know, one of the things that I feel so privileged that we could do was really to talk about the complexity around blackness, that it's not just one thing, right? I'm going to give you an example. Naisha Arrington in California, she's African-American and Korean, right? She grew up with a Korean grandmother that just spoke to her in Korean, and she's black, and she's a Californian chef. So her food, she's exploding on the scene. Miss Mashama Bailey in Savannah, that worked in New York but went back, did the reverse migration. And then you have someone like Eduardo Jordan in Seattle. So the black chefs in this country were all over the country. That's why I wanted to have many stories.
Have the black chefs and individuals been there always and weren't recognized, or is it a matter of new opportunities?
Well, I think it's a combination of all of it. I also think that because of internet and because of food is coming in more to pop culture, black chefs can now broadcast themselves in a way so there's less gatekeepers, which makes it a much more even playing field.
Now, of course, the pandemic is threatening restaurants and hospitality workers everywhere. In March, Samuelson shut down Red Rooster and another of his restaurants in Newark, New Jersey. He also delayed the opening of a new Red Rooster in Miami's Overtown neighborhood. Instead, over the next several weeks, and with the help of Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen, these locations were transformed into community kitchens, feeding frontline workers and increasingly those most in need. Red Rooster Harlem reopened at the end of September, but at a much smaller capacity. And Samuelson knows a new shutdown may be near. How serious an impact is it having on your industry?
That impact the service industry much harder than any other industry. And in that service industry, majority of the people that work in that are black, BIPOC, or people of color that are already disenfranchised and already COVID hits in an unproportional way in terms of infection and death rates.
Clearly, though, many restaurants are not going to make it. Is there any way to rethink what it's all about, what you do, how you reach people?
I mean, I think you said a very good word there. We have to rethink, and in an interruptive times like now, innovation will come out of that. And it's going to take a collective of the brightest, but also show an empathy from the people who have something.
And the story in his new book, he hopes, of work going on around the country by chefs, food writers, and activists can show us how food has helped shape our past and offer a positive way forward.
We're walking into the holiday season here. This might be one of the toughest holiday seasons we've experienced as a nation collectively. So we're going to cook in a new way. We might cook through Zoom or through Skype, but we're going to be social with one another, maybe in new ways. Wouldn't it be great to be able to have conversation about us as a multicultural America and eat in a multicultural way and love and enjoy one another?
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown.
Food looks fabulous. Let's hope as many of these restaurants as possible get open again as quickly as possible.
So I'm going to show you two trailers on Prime Video. I've seen this movie like up here 3 times. It's a great movie. Crimson Tide. You have Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. Amazing actors. Really. Submarine, U.S. nuclear submarine with a crisis dealing with Russia. Fantastic movie. Okay. And the next movie trailer you see with Deja Vu, very great movie. Very kind of, it's about a terrorist attack on a boat in New Orleans, and I'll just leave it at that. So you'll see the trailer.
XO has appendicitis. Your name was at the top of the list. That's good to know, sir. It was a short list. There's trouble in Russia. So they called us. And we're going over there and bringing the most lethal killing machine ever devised.
The last time we hit this state of emergency was 32 and a half years ago during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's what we trained for.
Submerge the ship.
Diving officers from the ship, make your depth 150 feet.
On the 1MC, dive! This year,
We have a properly formatted emergency action message from National Command Authority.
what we've always known
Bravo, Echo, Charlie, Alpha.
becomes what we've always feared.
Gentlemen, this is the captain. Russian rebels have threatened to launch against our country and are fueling right now. This is not a drill.
Now,
Sir, we have a possibly submerged submarine.
You find out who that is.
Receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1.
the battle for survival begins.
That's a message fragment.
So we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
I've made a decision.
There's no place for fear.
He's lost his nerve.
I'd rather go out myself and get this one wrong.
There's no room for mistakes.
If we launch and we're wrong, what's left of Russia is going to launch at us.
I'm captain of this boat. I don't have to think this over.
There's no time for doubt.
The missile system's ready to launch in 6 minutes. You repeat this order or I'll find somebody who will.
Hell no, you won't, sir. And nothing can stop the tide.
Torpedoes in the water!
Right forward.
1,000 yards of closing dive! Make your depth 1,200 feet!
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
They're fueling our missiles.
He's right on top of us!
Please commando. Under arrest. Under charge of mutiny. Launch your ready.
Block Captain Ramsey's in his stateroom.
Fire one now. Give me the missile key, Mr. Hunter. Sir, we are going down. I'm the commander of this ship.
Crimson Tide.
God help you if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, then we're at war. God help us all.
You think you know what's coming? You don't have a clue. You don't have a clue.
It's a phenomenon known as déjà vu. It's a phenomenon known as déjà vu. You arrive at a place you've never been, but it feels familiar. You look into the face of a stranger, and you feel like you've known her all your life.
Have we met?
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
Déjà vu is believed by many to be a trick of the mind, but the truth is far more extraordinary.
What if you had to tell someone the most important thing in the world, but you knew they'd never believe you?
I tried.
Doug, I've been put in charge of a newly formed investigative unit. I want you on the team.
Why me?
We've got some unique time constraints.
He has been shown a secret.
It's a brand new program. We can look anywhere 4 days in the past.
The government doesn't want you to know.
This is not surveillance. This is the actual past.
Yes.
They found a way to fold space back onto itself. Remember that blackout we had a few years back?
Half the Northeast. You're saying you guys?
50 million homes?
My bad.
Wow.
The key to stopping a disaster
You think you know what's coming? You don't have a clue.
starts by unraveling the mystery of déjà vu.
What if you had to tell someone the most important thing in the world, but you knew they'd never believe you?
I try.
I got it.
You know you don't have to do this.
What if I already have?
Déjà vu. If you think it's just a feeling, go back and look again.
Oh, okay. I've seen both those movies like 2 or 3 times. Amazing movies. So it's on Prime Video. So all of you that have Amazon Prime, it is free to you. So have a great day. It's going to be Seahawks playing the 0-12 Jets. Oh my God, they have to beat them. They can't lose to them because they lost to the Giants last week. So go Seahawks.